What's going on? Welcome to All Elite Weekly, the first fan podcast, or any podcast for that matter, devoted solely to the new wrestling promotion, All Elite Wrestling. I'm your host, Matt Cruz. It is a foggy new Valentine's Day as I sit here and record this for you. I've taken refuge. We're on the road. I've taken the podcast this week on the road. I am in an undisclosed location, taking refuge in Moreno Valley, in a crisp Moreno Valley. Things were a little loud today when we were trying to get situated. I got about a minute and 15 recorded earlier today, and that one's gonna go. You know what? I might tag that on the end of this. I'll let you hear a little bit of what my life was like today. Like I said, as I record this, I am blown up. As I sit here and record this for you, it is Valentine's Day. Happy belated Valentine's Day to you if you're listening to this. If you're Valentine's-less, yo, I feels it. We've all been there. This is a very late edition of All Elite Weekly. We're a couple days late here. It is the 6th episode. We're still trudging along. It's been a hell of a fucking week. It's been an attempt to try and get this done. I took a trip up north for some family related stuff. Had some nice FaceTime. Coming back down that drive down to the 5. I went down to San Jose. Coming back, the Grapevine was shut down. Extended my trip another day. It delayed this pod one more day. Nothing was going to stop us, though. We're going to get straight into it. The weekly matches for the week of February 5th through the 13th for all elite cats. There were a few of them I had to catch up on. I saw a few of them on the first run in a hotel room. And then the rest I luckily got to watch from a comfy Riverside situation, more homey situation. All right, so starting off, first of all, last week, Friday, February 8th, in Austin, Texas. I told you this one was going to be happening. AAW's Lucha City Limits. That's right. AAW, who we've talked about here recently, was going to be having an event down there. 2 AEW matches on the card. MJF, our favorite heel and everybody's new favorite bad guy, taking on Andy Dalton. And in the headlining match, Lucha Bros, Pentagon Jr., and Ray Phoenix taking on AR Fox and Myron Reed for the AAW tag team titles. Thus far, as I told you, as I said and record this on the 14th, still haven't found a full match coverage of this. Keep checking on ProWrestling.net, though. I know that AAW does post their stuff up on there. As I sit and record this, though, still no match. I did see some footage from what was going on, though. You've probably heard by now, Ray Phoenix was injured at this event. I saw some of the footage. He was rolling back across the ring, hopped up, did a double cutter, and as he was coming back, hit the back of his head and his neck area pretty hard. They wrapped the match up there pretty shortly after, and they signaled for him to be carried out. He was carried out on a stretcher. Later, they reported from the hospital, I guess he had suffered a muscle contusion, and he was going to be okay, but he just needed to take it easy for a couple days. In that match, though, luckily at the end, in that rolling across the ring to get that cutter, the Lucha Bros did secure that victory. In the earlier bout, MJF was able to pick up the victory over Andy Dalton. That was Lucha City Limits. It turned out to be a little more risky than I think the Lucha Bros thought going into, but that was their first event. A couple events capturing Lucha Bros. Few opportunities to watch Lucha Bros this past weekend. That same night, I don't know when the actual tape date was, but that same night from Mexico City, on the Pursuit channel, if you know what the fuck that is, or like your normal person if you watched it on Twitch, on Impact Wrestling, it was going to be the Lucha Bros taking on LAX, Santana, and Ortiz for the Impact Tag Team titles. I think I misspoke last week and said that Junior and Phoenix we're still holding on to those titles. I misspoke. LAX came into that match as the champs. Lucha Bros were challenging for that belt. The previous week on Impact, the Lucha Bros took on LAX in a 6-man tag match. They won that match with the help of wrestler or luchador from AAW. Lo siento, I didn't get your name down here. Or with Taurus. Okay, Taurus. They took down LAX with the help of Taurus the week prior, and afterwards, after that win, they challenged LAX to a rematch for those tag titles. Conan was there. He said, "Hey, we're all family. We're all familia y todo. Man, let's do it again. Let's go back, repeat that same what I feel might be up for bout of the year was LAX versus Lucha Bros, the first match. They said, let's do it again. So on this episode of Impact, in the first hour of the broadcast, they played a promo from the Lucha Brothers backstage. Super dope promo. I love what they're doing with them. I like the tone that they're going for. They basically were saying, that they came out here, they're not going to lose in front of their own people, in front of La Raza in the hometown of Mexico City. I really dug it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a powerful promo. I like when they have them speaking in Spanish. You can tell that they're, even though I don't understand what they're saying a lot of the time, you can tell that they believe what they're saying more when they're speaking in Spanish, and they come across much more authentic when they're speaking in Spanish. And I thought it was a great promo to get things going. So we finally get to the match. Lucha Brothers are going to come out for their entrance, and instead of the usual straight up kind of Spanish sounding thing that they have, it starts off with this weird ass like single taiko drummer who comes out center stage, center of the ramp, and 2 or 3 like huge dragon puppets that are like being operated on the side of him, and he's drumming in a different tune than the lady who's playing the chime, and it's all kind of coming across strange. I don't think a lot of people down there in Mexico City understood what was going on. It was a little overwhelming, to be honest. But after that, Lucha Bros come out. They make their way to the ring. LAX comes out, and I was pretty happy to see Konnan come out. I know Konnan's big, especially down there. He's still a local legend down there in Mexico City. I know for all his days in the luchador style that he used to do. And I love every time. I think it adds a pretty cool dynamic whenever these 4 mix it up and Konnan's there. I think the last time that he wasn't there for the beginning of the match, and it just felt like his presence was kind of missing. He did come out afterwards, but having that presence there, even though he doesn't really add much to it, just the feeling of having almost like an uncle or like an older sibling being there on the sideline just kind of adds like some gravity to it. At least I think. So LAX gets down to the ring. They're coming down. They're flossing. They're flaunting their belts. They're getting in Lucha Bros' face, and eventually Santana goes for they go for the kick. Santana goes for a drop kick. Boom! They both score some super kicks. Lucha Bros start to get back into the rhythm. Zero Muerto chants start down there. Obviously the hometown favorites. It was cool to see that right off the bat. People were fucking with the Lucha Bros. They toss out Phoenix. LAX have the Pentagon Jr. in a 2-on-1, and then Phoenix jumps back in the ring. Top of the third turnbuckle. Boom! Missile drop kick on both of them. LAX coming back. Ortiz gets a powerful sidewalk slam. Santana and Penta get to go at it a little bit. They trade chops. The pace kind of slows. I always think it's unfair when somebody has to trade chops with Penta. We talked about this before. He's got that padded chest piece, so he's when he's chopping, he's throwing full swings, and then whoever gets to go against him, he gets lucky enough to get that padding on his chest for the receipt for whatever he's throwing. But they start to trade chops. We kind of hit like a lull for a minute before we rev it back up. Pentagon Jr. eventually hits Pentagon Driver on Santana. He kicks out. We keep going. LAX gets the ring. They hit the double cutter to a code breaker. 1, 2, kick out. We keep rolling. The Lucha Bros eventually come. They get the upper hand. They go for the Fear Factor on Santana. Then immediately after, I'm sure you've seen it. If you've seen the Lucha Bros wrestle before, I'm sure you've seen the 1-2 of the Fear Factor right into Phoenix running the ropes to do the suicide dive. So Fear Factor on Santana, suicide dive, 1, 2, kick out again. The Lucha Bros aren't going to give up that easy, though. They're still in their rhythm. They're ready to give it one more go. Phoenix, to start this off, instead of the 1-2, they get a 1-2-3 going. So Phoenix gets a reverse Hurricane Rana into the Fear Factor, right into the suicide dive. 1, 2, 3 this time. The new Impact Tag Team Champions of the world, the Lucha Bros. And I thought that was really, really cool to see. That was an awesome moment. Like I said, the 4 of them were in there. It's still kind of heated. And Konnan comes in, and Konnan gets to mediate a little bit. What a great match, though. These cats get to wrestle a lot is what I was thinking when I watched them. I was like, wow, there's like 4 matches this week, and they're all Lucha Bros or all LAX. They're gonna wrap up. Konnan's in there. The 4 of them are in each other's faces a little bit, and Konnan forces like a handshake. He forces them to give some mutual respect before things part for the night. And immediately after that, LAX gets out of the ring. They give the ring to the Lucha Bros in a sign of respect, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought it was really awesome that Konnan was there to walk them out. It felt like that moment in Creed 2. If you saw Creed 2, if you didn't, spoiler, sorry. At the end, Drago's son. Well, I mean, it shouldn't be fucking spoilers. It's Creed. Of course, Creed's gonna fucking win in it. So at the end, Drago's son loses, and Drago's there. His whole life he's been pushing him to be the best, and at this moment the son loses, and Drago's there to be like, oh, it's okay, like it's okay, and he like walks him off. And so I thought that was really cool. It reminded me of that moment. Konnan's there to walk off the now former Impact Tag Team Champions, LAX. What a good match. keeping it moving the next night, Saturday, February 9th, in Queens, New York, where 50 Cent, well, I guess he didn't die trying, but 50 Cent could have died trying. Luckily, he didn't, for all of us. It was House of Glory's Recapture the Glory. Another little independent show. I shouldn't be saying little. I guess that's diminutive. But another independent show that's popping up on the East Coast, very similar to like Defy out here on the West or things like that. From the looks of it, to be honest, it was a lot bigger than some of the ones out here on the West Coast that we've talked about recently. And like I mentioned in that last match, you got to give it up for LAX and for the Lucha Bros. These cats are out here and they wrestle a lot. I mean, I guess you got to make hay while the sun shines. But they're wrestling a lot right now. They know that they're in high demand, and they're not really missing out on a lot of opportunities to get out there and make that cash in the squared circle, man. So at Recapture the Glory, the main event was once again repeated the night before, LAX, Santana, and Ortiz, but this was going to be against Pentagon, and there was no opponent for sure. It was supposed to be the Lucha Bros, but like we talked about earlier in this podcast, the night prior, Rey Fenix was injured at AAW's Lucha City Limits, so it was going to be Pentagon Jr. and an unnamed opponent. An unnamed partner. He didn't have a partner ready yet. Fenix was going to be on injured for the next couple of days. He had to take it easy with that meniscus injury. So at a certain point in the night, Sami Callihan comes out, who was either their heavyweight champ or open weight champ at one point, and he comes out and confronts who I believe is the owner of House of Glory and cuts a pretty good promo on him. Basically says, hey, you stripped me of my fucking title, and since that's happened, you've denied me of any title opportunity here in House of Glory. So tonight, Pentagon Jr. has a partner. It's me, and I have an opportunity at the House of Glory tag team titles. I thought it was super cool. I haven't really been the biggest Sami Callihan fan. I know he did have a hell of a 2018. He's not really my flavor yet, but I'm going to keep my eye on him, obviously. I think he's obviously a good worker, but it's just not my cup of tea. But this was a really, really cool fucking promo. Reminiscent of like some old Stone Cold shit. But he says that, and then puts that cat in a small package, and not once, but twice, I think. And then exits. So later that night, we finally get to the main event, and it's LAX versus Pentagon Jr. and Sami Callihan. LAX comes out. Their music hits. They come out ready to party or fight. You can't tell. You never can tell with LAX when they're in this kind of mood. They come out ready for something. They are the reigning House of Glory tag team champions, though, and they come out ready for action, man. Whatever that action may be. Pentagon Jr. and Callihan come out next, and Pentagon Jr.'s still obviously he's not moving as quick as he was the night before at Lucha City Limits. That was a tough fight. But Sami Callihan comes out in a luchador mask. Really, really strange. It was to be uniform and to be kind of like, oh, like we're in this together. But it also, like, if you become friends with somebody, you don't just start dressing like that person. So I thought, I don't know, I just wasn't fucking with it. Anyways, they come out, they're ready to go. The announcer announces that for one night only, Pentagon Jr. and Sami Callihan have formed the team of the Chubby Brothers. So it's gonna be, fucking, what are the names here? I told you it was a foggy episode. So it's going to be LAX versus the Chubby Brothers for the House of Glory tag team titles. They ring the bell. They go in for a handshake. Sami Callihan spits in his hand. He wants to do a spit handshake. Again, this is one of those tactics that I'm just really not in for. I'm not the biggest Sami Callihan fan yet. He didn't win me over thus far. Sami Callihan and Santana get the ring. They get to run the ropes, get into some basics, get an arm bar. A lot of trash talk going. That seems to be one of his strong points. It seems like what he lacks, what Sami Callihan lacks as far as his athleticism and like pace, he makes up for in his attitude and his trash talking. I dig it. I'm lying. I don't dig it, but I can see what he's going for at least. So we'll see if that develops anymore. LAX gets their double team work going, and like I said in the night prior, they got some when they do get that double team action going. I mean, aside from Lucha Bros and like Young Bucks, there's not many cats out there who can get it going in a tag team or like a double team fashion like LAX. So LAX gets a double team going. Northern Lights into a splash. All four men get back in the ring. They start trading blows. They start trading chops. And at this point, the New York crowd splits a little bit. We get dueling Zero Muerto and LAX chants. Pentagon Jr. and Santana get to go at it in the ring. Pentagon Jr. gets the best at exchange. Ortiz and Callahan get in there. Like I said again, like they kind of slow the pace down. It feels like a little lumbering for a bit. I get that they're going for like a methodical pace, but to me it just kind of feels lumbering. It feels almost like trying to play Madden on a PS1. You know, it just feels like it's just dry. It's definitely just like dragging. It feels like pretty heavy. They get rocking. Super kicks get going. Santana hits a suicide dive into the front row. Well, not into the front row. That's Joseph Fares right there. Not into the front row, but he hits the barricades, almost diving or almost sending Ortiz into the front row. I don't know if you recall last week when we talked about come hell or high water. He accidentally dove into the third row. This one was not nearly as bad. This one seemed like he pretty much hit his mark and knew what he was going for. So much so that on the opposite side of the ring, when the camera cuts back to the other side of the ring for he takes his opponent. I think he drags Ortiz across the way and throws him into the front row, and the row's been cleared. So like the people who are sitting in the front row have already been moved out of the way. They're privy to what's going on. They know that this is going to be like a reoccurring bit now. LAX gets the upper hand. LAX starts throwing some chair shots in. They start running the ring again. Boom, super kicks, double super kicks going. LAX gets Pentagon Jr. alone in the ring. And then things start to slow again, like we're starting to bring it home. So they hit a STO, and at the same time, I've never seen them do this. A simultaneous springboard moonsault and leg drop. Boom. LAX hitting that double team action on Pentagon Jr. 1, 2. Callahan is able to get into the ring and break it up. Pentagon Jr. hits his handspring. So Pentagon Jr. starts chopping him down. I remember at this point. He's really sick of the pace of them because he doesn't have Rey Fenix out there to run the ropes with him. So I think he's starting to like, all right, let's chop these motherfuckers down. He gets some hamstring kicks. Boom. Gets a pile driver on Santana. 1, 2. Kick out again. The now tag team partners, the Chubby Brothers, hit dual package pile drivers on LAX in the center of the ring. 1, 2. Both of them kick out, and the look of disbelief on Pentagon Jr. and especially Sami Callahan's face is like, it looks as if like they're Yokozuna and they buried the Undertaker, and the Undertaker just came back again. They're like, what the fuck? I buried you already. What happened? Zero Muerto chants get rocking again. Callahan, to follow up the Zero Muerto chants, like Pentagon Jr. is known to do, he does it as like almost like a battle cry. He turns to do like the Zero Muerto, like let's put this away, and instead of teaming up on LAX, Callahan turns and goes for a low blow on Pentagon Jr. I mean, from what just feels like out of habit. I mean, these two have gone through so many battles before. Whenever that chant has been, whenever Zero Muerto's been yelled from Pentagon Jr., usually it's bad news for Sami Callahan right after. So whether he's saying it's like Freudian or whatever he's claiming it is, he does go for the low blow. So they turn on each other. Sami Callahan tries to kick Pentagon Jr. in the groin. Pentagon Jr. catches Sami Callahan's foot, hits him in a small package pile driver, and LAX actually pops back up. Both of them count 1, 2, and then Callahan kicks out, and they all kind of look like, oh, what the fuck are we gonna do now? LAX gets in double super kicks, suicide dive, LAX cutter, code breaker, one more time suicide dive, and then Ortiz finally covers Callahan. 1, 2, 3. LAX retains the House of Glory Tag Team Championships. It was in a pretty decent match for having to been thrown together last minute for two guys who I don't believe have ever acted as tag team partners. Sami Callahan stepping in to fill in for Rey Fenix, the injured Rey Fenix. Pretty decent match. Couple low spots, but some pretty good high spots. At the end of it, Pentagon Jr. is walking off the exit ramp, and him and Santana start to dance a little bit, get some bailar in there because they're playing some cumbia music, and it's nice. It was a nice way to end House of Glory's Recapture the Glory. The next night, Saturday, February 9th, in Portland, Oregon, well, you'll never catch me dead or alive in. And if you were from there, we can't be friends. It was Defy Wrestling's Slamtown. I told you we were going to be talking about this week. It was Defy World Champion Artemis Spencer defending his Defy World Championship against MJF. At this point, I still couldn't find the match. It's only the 14th, like I've said. It is February 14th as I said to record this, so the match isn't online yet. I'd say check back on barwrestling.pivotshare.com because they do post all their events up there from Defy. But I haven't seen this match yet. I was able to ask a couple cats who were able to make it out there on Instagram if they made it. They said Artemis Spencer was able to retain that belt, come up with the win, but MJF still put in a good match. Boom. That was Defy Slamtown. That was it for this weekly matches. This was obviously before the pool party, so we have a lot more weekly people to keep up with weekly matches from now on. And like I've said in the past, please, if I've missed something, or if there's a AEW cat who's got a match coming up or an event coming up that I may have missed out on, it's just me out here scouring for these matches on Instagram and the web. So please send them over to All Elite Weekly on Instagram. I'll make sure I throw them up on the calendar to talk about whenever that event is going to be coming up. If it's somebody from a newer cat like Sammy Guevara, Sonny Kiss, any Nyla Rose, any of these newer cats, I'm going to start throwing them on there next week. We're moving it right along to the Being the Elite segment. This week, not only did we have one show, not two shows, but we had three things to talk about in the Being the Elite segment. First of all, I told you it was going to be happening this week. We've all seen the flyers. Everybody's been anticipating it. It was the Double or Nothing ticket announcement party last Thursday, February 7th in Las Vegas at the MGM Garden, or at the MGM Grand Hotel down the street from the MGM Garden Arena, host of Double or Nothing. And people were really anticipating this thing. We were obviously expecting a couple big announcements. The main thing looking forward to as fans was the actual tickets themselves. But of course, we speculated as far as a Kenny Omega announcement there. And if you made the trip out there, though it was cold, I imagine you didn't leave unsatisfied. I didn't make it out there. I watched it from a comfy Riverside, California. But I caught the stream as soon as it happened. So let's just get into some beats that was going on there. I thought it was a really cool little setup. They put some money into it again. It was like a plush poolside setup for a bunch of freezing sweaties out there in a February Las Vegas night. They put some people on the production crew. Obviously, runners running back and forth. Lighting, sound was top notch. Everything was running on all cylinders. I thought it looked really good. Alex Marvez and Conrad Thompson were the MCs again this time, just like at the Jacksonville rally. But joining the team this week was Excalibur, who we saw it last year at, if you watched All In last year event, or if you've seen him in his work in Lucha Underground or at a bunch of different promotions throughout the years. But he was going to be also the third MC for this event. What I didn't know was they're throwing the pre-show. A lot of pre-show vamping, man. I wish I probably wouldn't have tuned in as early as I did. I was trying to get in a better workout. I was trying to double task as far as like squeezing in a workout and watching the pre-show. But it was kind of just the three of them speculating about what was going to happen, making sure people knew that it was still going to be going on. And I think they're trying to get the stream up and running and make sure that there were no issues there as far as going live on all the different platforms. But as what feels like half an hour of thumb twiddling, luckily we get an MJF appearance. Our favorite bad guy. He enters to a poolside screaming boo or screaming boos at this guy. He doesn't even have to talk. Like we talked about him at Game Changer Wrestling or any of the events he's been going to recently. A lot of times he's getting booed. He's got so much heat out there before he even touches the microphone. People are yelling at him to shut the fuck up. He gets out there and they're kind of building up this little rivalry between him and Conrad Thompson. He's like, oh, if it isn't my best friend, Conrad Turkey Tips Thompson. Nice scarf. I'm just kidding. You look incredibly poor in it. I love it. I love what he's doing. But it just felt like Conrad had a hard time keeping up, and I mean I get it. MJF is great. I wouldn't want to go toe to toe with MJF on the mic. Who would? But I think Conrad's got it in him. You know, he feels really hesitant out there. Like he should get. I feel like my one critique of that segment would be, I hope in the future Conrad gives a little bit more for MJF to work with, because I think he doesn't want to overshadow him, but he's got to give a little more. MJF's no pushover, and he's definitely letting Conrad have it. He put the gum on him at the last rally, but it was a nice little segment. No announcements there, but just a cool little way to get things going. We get all three MCs together again. They're kind of just vamping. At one point, they're saying like, "Oh, who could be here tonight?" And then they hit Sonny Kiss's music. So if you don't know Sonny Kiss, I talked about Sonny Kiss here a couple weeks ago. He wrestled Penelope Ford at a matter of Pride Wrestling up in New York, and we talked about that match here. But aside from that, I hadn't really seen any Sonny Kiss or heard about Sonny Kiss much at all. So I did a little delving here. Sonny Kiss is from Jersey. He started in 2013. He's most known as Exo Lucius for in his work at Lucha Underground, and he's held titles for American Championship Entertainment, East Coast Pro Wrestling, and Warriors of Wrestling. So obviously not a pup in the game by any means. 2013, that's 5 years in, going on 6 years in. He's obviously been putting some work in. He's got his chops going, man. So I think that's a good signing. From what I saw his last match, I would say he's an interesting signing. I like it. Overall, I like it. I haven't seen enough from him to be positive about that, but I like it. So Sonny Kiss gets out there. He gets on the mic. He says, so I hear AEW is for everyone. Well, Sonny Kiss is for everyone. He says, I will be at Double or Nothing. And that's kind of where he leaves it. He's, nothing really big from him. Kind of lackluster, but he came out and he seemed pretty sincere. People vibed with him. It wasn't awkward. It didn't feel like it was lingering on for too long. He kind of came out there, said what he needed to say, and then we got along with it. Because we had a lot more coming. So after that, the MC's intro Cody. He kind of comes out as one of the three, like our three fearless leaders. He gets to come out and pump everybody up. He gets to deliver like the sentimental speech. He says, if not us, then who? If not now, when? Guys, it kind of feels like, smells like, seems like this is a revolution. And I'm not gonna lie, it was some real Mark type shit, but I bit into it. I was at home like, yeah, he's right. This is our revolution. This is wrestling revolution. It was good, and especially, how can you not want to follow Cody into battle? He's the son of Dusty. He's the brother of Dustin Rhodes. Like, you want to root for the guy regardless. You can't not like Cody Rhodes. So he's riling everybody up. He finally makes the first real announcement of the night, aside from Sonny Kiss, of course. He says, we've announced our second partnership with Mexican promotion, AAA. An hour before the party on Twitter, they announced via a video that said that partnership. They put out a video, and it had Dorian Roldan, the general manager of AAA Lucha. He said, first of all, I want to congratulate Cody and the Bucks on their new opportunity. He says, also, I would like to help announce this new wrestling alliance. He apologized he couldn't be there in person. He said, lo siento. They couldn't be there in Vegas in person. But he went on to talk about the new alliance. He says, we hope to bring new opportunities for the fans and exchange talent. That's a key phrase that's been going on in a lot of these partnerships. That's the main phrase that we talked about, especially in the OWE partnership, was the exchange of talent. It was mainly what they're looking for, which is good, which is really, really good. They don't want to just use it as like a platform. They're not going to send over one or two cats. We're not looking at factions. We're looking at overall, I'd say long-term partnerships, and the word alliance as well kind of hints at we're looking at building this long-term. It's not going to be a cash grab. They're not looking to just use a AAA for Double or Nothing or OWE for Double or Nothing. Just because they're trying to get it while it's hot. They're looking at establishing a long-term viable alternative, and I think that's exciting. So I had never heard of AAA as well. I did a little delving into AAA. AAA, if you've never heard of AAA, Lucha Libre company or Lucha Libre promotion, just like myself. AAA has been based out of Mexico City. It was founded in 1992, just like myself as well. Wow, look at that. And it was founded by Antonio Pena, father of Michael Pena. No, it's not father of Michael Pena. But they've since gone on to work in Mexico, USA, and Japan. They have current working relationships with Japanese Pro Wrestling and Impact Wrestling. So that's another interesting point off the bat. That Impact, all the threads, all the tiny threads currently threading AEW to Impact. There's no direct thread, but it's like the end of fucking Wanted, where that magic thread that tells like the future or whatever shit that was. I don't know. It wasn't a very good movie, but whatever that thread was, AEW is slowly becoming more and more connected to Impact Wrestling, and I'm excited about that as well. Cut back to Cody. He talks about them again. He says their emphasis on combining the best lucha libre with modern stars lines up with our goal of creating the best wrestling show on the damn planet. So that was that for the AAA announcement. He goes on then to talk about tickets. He says, you guys want tickets? We want to give you tickets. He announces a pre-sale opportunity, which I just looked into this week. As soon as he announced it, I was like, oh man, why do people need pre-sales? That sounds stupid. And then I had this conversation with my friend who I'm currently, Holden, can I say your name on the podcast? Yeah. Okay. I had a conversation with Holden, whose house I'm currently hiding out, seeking refuge in, about this same situation. Okay. Why? He was like, why do people need pre-sale tickets? And I was like, wow, look at this. What a great opportunity. I just learned this today. Apparently, when tickets go on sale in major venues or major promotions like this, right away, the ticket scalping issue has become so big or so intense that the day the tickets go on sale, the majority of them get picked up, boom, right off the bat by scalpers. Like 75 to 85%, they said, these days of the day of a launch. So to avoid this, AEW for Double or Nothing was putting out that pre-sale code. I thought it was really nice going the extra step to make sure fans, the actual fans get there. People who want to be there, are going to get there. So after the pre-sale opportunity gets announced, Cody then goes on to say, welcome. At this point, we want to welcome the AAA Cruiserweight Champion, Sammy Guevara. Boom. Again, we had to sidebar here because this is another moment where I was like, pause. I don't know who Sammy Guevara is. So here we go. Here's some backstory into Sammy Guevara. If you, like myself, didn't know Sammy Guevara, if you did already, good for you, man. You're paying attention to that AAA promotion already. You should be one step ahead. You should be more excited that Sammy Guevara is coming to AEW. For the rest of us, here we go. Sammy Guevara is from Houston. He's worked for Aero Lucha, WWE, Impact, Evolve, Full Impact, International Wrestling Cartel, PWG, and I guess, wow, look at that, and others. That note probably could have been done better, but he's worked for all of these people. Sammy Guevara, at this point, comes out with holding that AEW or that AAA Cruiserweight belt, and immediately I was like, this guy looks like a fucking kid. He can't be any older than 23 or 24, and he's a champion. He's a luchador champion. He comes out. One of the first things he does, though, is plug his YouTube. I guess I guess you got to eat. I guess it's a generational thing, but whatever. Sammy Guevara comes out, plugs his YouTube. He says, quote, Sammy Guevara is the best ever. I don't know. Again, this promo kind of lackluster. It's kind of just like, it was kind of just to let people know Sammy Guevara's here in AEW. I've never seen you wrestle Sammy Guevara, but these are some big words here, so we'll see how that turns out. After that, Conrad comes out and he intros Hangman Page as the Hangman's walking out. No gear this time. Walking out in just civilian clothes. The chant as he's walking towards the stage is, "We want full gear." They want to see Hangman Page in full gear, which has been the running theme, the running joke we've been talking about here, as far as being the elite segments have gone. He comes out, Hangman again makes that joke about like, I'm not in shape to be in full gear, but he promises to be in the best shape of his life at Double or Nothing. At this point, he's going on to make promises to the audience, and Pac interrupts via video satellite. Really, really cool little video message they put together from Pac, just shot on a super easy shot, just one still shot on an iPhone, like shot in front of in a hallway somewhere backstage. I mean, it doesn't look particularly good at all, but he just comes out and cuts the best fucking promo of the whole show. He's not even there, and he cuts the best promo of the whole show. He says, for years he's been deemed unfit for audiences. He's talking about Hangman Page. He's like, Hangman Page, as you sit there, your asshole flapping like paper in the wind. He's, basically saying he's talking shit. He says, he challenges Page. He says, like, hey, bring your cowboy boots, because after I'm done humiliating you in front of the whole world, you'll want nothing more than to ride off into the sunset and never be seen again. What a dope line. What a callback to last year's Double or All In, where he competed against Joey Janela, and those boots were brought back. Those talking boots. What a great fucking promo by Pac, who's not even there in person. Wherever you are in the world, Pac, good promo. They give Page some stage time again. He says, all right, let's make it official. The Bastard versus the Hangman. Boom. And then right after that, boom, there we go. We have our first official match set for Double or Nothing. Hangman Page versus Pac at Double or Nothing at the MGM Garden Arena. That's very exciting. But right after that, Page kind of just awkwardly saunters off. So we get that set, and then he kind of like, all right, bye. He's going to say bye. He's kind of saunters off. Conrad and Alex come back out, and they bring up the Bucks, which is good. People have been waiting all night to see Matt and Nick. They come out. They hit the stage. Matt says, our goal, our main objective, is to give you the best tag team division in the world. To further that point, they bring out the Best Friends. There we go. Another sidebar. I had to sidebar myself. I had never heard of the Best Friends. I've heard the name, but I didn't know who they were. If you're just like me, the Best Friends are Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta. They formed in PWG. They've worked for Ring of Honor and New Japan, and they came out rocking some dope Scott Hall 96 Nitro gear like they posted about on their Instagram. They come out, they cut a promo. Apparently, we're going to be seeing them at Double or Nothing. We don't have a match for them or anything, but they come out, they get some mic time. They're both decent. Chucky T's a little bit better on the mic. But obviously they got some fans. People are chanting for best friends as they're coming out, so they're obviously more over with fans than I knew. The Bucks come back out and basically say like, all right, that's it for now. They start to leave, and then we hit the Lucha Bros music. The Lucha Bros come out rocking suits, but still rocking those luchador masks. I thought that was a super cool visual. I thought it was very Nacho Libre-esque. You know, I love the image of like a luchador like in a suit, like they're dressed for either something formal or they're dressed for something different, but like they still, you still got the mask. It's still ready to throw down at any time. I really dug that a lot. They come out to the Zero Muerto chants, and the Lucha Bros get it to the stage. They face off. They kind of go face to face with the Young Bucks. You're not sure what's gonna happen. There's a little trash talking, and then boom, you're like, oh, they're not gonna let them fight. They haven't been letting anybody fight. Boom, the Lucha Bros go for the kicks. Phoenix picks up Matt, throws him on his arms for a fireman's carry, changes his mind, puts him back down, and hits him with a super kick. And at that point, Pentagon Jr. Scratcher reverse, it hits Nick. Pentagon Jr. picks up Matt, hits him with a small package pile driver on the fucking stage, and the crowd loses their shit. They start screaming "Holy shit!" chants out loud. I mean, this is just a press conference. This is really, really promising. Phoenix gets that little mic. He gets on the little podium mic, and he says, "You say what they're second best? AEW, be ready for the Lucha Bros." They're talking their shit. Penta's up there talking his shit in Spanish. I dug it a lot. After that, we get our official confirmation. This is the second match for Double or Nothing. Not only is this the second match, this is the main event for Double or Nothing. Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr., the Lucha Bros, versus Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks. That's a headlining match anywhere in the world. So they cart a limping Matt Jackson off stage, and then the MCs come back out. Conrad and Alex then go on to intro Brandy. And as Brandy's coming out, she gets the Brandy chance, which is pretty cool. For even more, I think we need more Brandy chance. I'm digging her presence a lot. As soon as she walks out, you kind of feel like what she's bringing to the presentation. She's bringing the class. She's bringing those relation skills, and people obviously love Brandy. I mean, you can see how over she is with the fans just because of how sincere she is right off the bat. She comes out. She announces, I'm gonna be announcing 2 Japanese women wrestlers tonight. She says, first of all, Yuka Sakazuki. When she says the words Yuka Sakazuki, you can very clearly hear 2 girls, like only 2. There's not a crowd reaction. It's literally 2 girls screaming at the top of it. They lose their shit at the announcement of Yuka Sakazuki. So if you're not those 2 girls who were at the rally and you're like everyone else, Yuka Sakazuki had a 2013 debut. She's currently working for Tokyo Joshi Pro. According to fansided.com, though, she is not an official signing of AEW, but Brandy does go on to say that she will be at Double or Nothing. So I thought that was interesting as well. That's a cool little tidbit to keep in mind. Not necessarily everyone who appears at Double or Nothing or participates in Double or Nothing will go on to be an AEW signee. That's not necessarily the case, but a lot of these cats they are announcing as signees. These are not 2 of those cases. The other person that she announces is Aja Kong. I had not heard of Aja Kong, but they put up a picture of her, and I would not want to fuck with Aja Kong. Aja Kong is an All Japan Pro Women's Wrestling Hall of Famer and the founder of ASEAN. That's not me mispronouncing Asian. That's like a ASION, Asian Women's Japanese Wrestling. She debuted in 1986. And if things would have gone differently, we all would have known Aja Kong 10 years later, because in 1996 she was poised to take the WWF WWF Women's title, but after Alundra Blaze showed up on Nitro, WCW Nitro, and dropped the women's belt in the trash can, the WWF folded the women's division, and Aja Kong never got her reign as the WWF Women's Champion. What a tangled web. I guess she didn't weave that web. She'd be like, fuck you. If she heard me say that, she'd be like, fuck you, I didn't weave that shit. She has gone on to work for Celia Japan, Ladies Legends Pro Wrestling, Oz Academy, Chikara, Shimmer Women's Athletes, and she's got a list of champions. If I were to sit here and tell you the belts that she's won, it'd be longer than a Peter Jackson movie. It's just she's won everything that a woman could win in wrestling. Brandy goes on to say they couldn't be here, but I had to bring someone with me to the party. She's gonna intro somebody else, and she prefaces it by saying she was one of the hottest free agents until I made the call, Kylie Rae. And that's when Kylie Rae comes out. They hit Kylie Rae's music, and here we go, another sidebar. This is the side. I might just call this episode sidebar sidecar. Kylie Rae, if we're all getting introduced to in the AEW audience, she is from Chicago. She had a 2016 debut. She was in Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. She was the Diamonds Division champion. She's been Zello Pro Women's champion, Capital Wrestling Alliance Heavyweight champion, and she is the current AAW Women's champion. She's wrestled for Reality of Wrestling, Freelance Wrestling, Zelo Pro Wrestling, Shimmer Women's Athletes, Rise Wrestling, and Capital Wrestling Alliance. Obviously, Kylie Rae ain't no joke. She's out there putting that work in. She's only a couple years into the business. I mean, even more of a pup. She's only a couple years into the business, like literally. But she's putting in that time, man. She's obviously working her way up the ranks pretty quickly here. She gets up to the mic. She's playing it very nice. She's. I think at one point she even references Brandy. She's like, "Oh, babyface, right?" She thanks the fans. Thanks AEW. I thought she had a great attitude. She was coming across as pretty sincere, a little too vanilla. She needs to stop saying, just like safe PRE words or safe words you want to hear in like a press release. But overall, she seemed promising. She was pretty likable. Brandy says, instead of like, they don't really set this next rivalry out pretty well. This may be, I would say, probably my biggest nitpick with the event. Brandy goes, "Oh, Nyla, why don't you get out here?" So instead of setting it up, we just hit Nyla Rose's music. Now, boom, sidebar number too many. Here we go. Nyla Rose. If you're like myself, this is the background of who Nyla Rose is. Nyla Rose had a 2013 debut. She apparently, as of this happening, as of that music hitting and her coming out, Nyla Rose is the first trans wrestler to sign with a major promotion. She is a 3-time Covey Promotions Women's Champion. She's worked for Warriors of Wrestling and Covey Promotions. Now, when I was looking up Nyla Rose, when I was like Googling who is Nyla Rose or like how to find Nyla Rose's backstory, every article that came up was, understandably, because she's the first, every article though was focusing on the fact that she's the first trans wrestler to sign to a major promotion. Very cool, but I read 3 to 4 articles. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even exaggerating. I read 3 to 4 articles, and at the end of all 3 to 4 articles, I didn't know what promotion she was currently in, what promotion she wrestled in last. I didn't know any of her major accomplishments. It was just all about, they all changed quickly from like, this is, or how Nyla Rose is the first trans woman, to why this is important for trans rights. So in the future, first of all, I'd like to applaud Nyla Rose on becoming the first trans wrestler to sign a major promotion. Super cool. In the future, I'm not going to be covering her as a trans wrestler. I'm going to be covering her as a motherfucking wrestler, which is what I hope that starts to happen more in her future. And the stories about her and the headlines that come out regarding Nyla Rose from now on, as now that she's signed to one of the hottest promotions in the world, are about Nyla Rose's wrestling career. But congratulations. Very cool step. Let's see what the fuck you can do in the ring. I'm excited about it. So Nyla Rose comes out. She beelines to the stage. They get on stage. She faces off with Kylie Rae. Kylie Rae goes to extend her hand, and Nyla Rose kind of like mean mugging her. Brandy's kind of trying to mediate. People are chanting like, "Let them fight, let them fight." This is one of the moments where I was telling you about, where I was like, "Wow, I was surprised the Penta Bros and the Bucks came to blows," because immediately once people start chanting "Let them fight," like they get separated before they even come. I don't think one blow is thrown at all. I don't think somebody gets smacked. I don't think somebody gets pushed. Nothing, I guess that sounds kind of fucked up. I'm like, that's my main gripe with the press conference. It's like, somebody needed to get hit more. But it should have that fight atmosphere. It should have like a weigh-in atmosphere where opponents are in each other's faces and are ready to come to fisticuffs at the press conference. That's what I feel like, at least. If you're going to sell that. If that's the story you're selling. Because Nyla Rose was definitely selling some mean looks in those eyes towards Kylie Rae. So they get separated. They get carted off stage. Excalibur comes back up and he introduces SCU. Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, Scorpio Sky, all in attendance there in the MGM. They come out to the SCU chants. They hit the stage. Frankie Kazarian gets up there, gets some mic time. He announces the Double or Nothing official after party will be called SCU All Night, and it's going to be hosted by none other than SCU, all three: Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, and Christopher Daniels. Pretty cool if you're going to be out there at Double or Nothing. Excalibur gets back on the mic, and he introduces OWE Vice President Mickey Yee, or Mikey, President Dragon Fu, and Sema and Sema. I wish I knew Sema's title. Unfortunately, I didn't get Sema's title down here, but he introduces all three of them. They come out. Yee gets on the mic, and he basically starts to talk about OWE. He says he's so thankful for the partnership with AEW. He says, we will bring 5,000 years of Chinese Kung Fu that has never been done in the history of professional wrestling. I mean, that's a hell of a promise. That got me really pumped up. I was like, fuck yeah, how cool is that? At Double or Nothing, starting at Double or Nothing, OWE, the first major wrestling promotion to come out of China is gonna start. We're gonna start seeing that on an international basis, and I think, wow. I mean, I'm very excited for that. I think that's so cool. Dragon Fu gets on the mic, and he gets a pretty warm welcome. He basically is just there for moral support. Really, it feels like. Christopher Daniels gets on the mic, and he's talking to Sema instead of Sema getting on the mic and talking. Christopher Daniels gets to talk to him, and he says, Sema, his career goes beyond legendary. His and my career go way back to the Michinoku Dojo. And so for this next piece, I had to do a little sidebar, boom, on Sema. Who is Sema? If you're like myself, if you've been watching Japanese wrestling, good on you. If you watch Dragon Gate, you probably know who Sema is. Sema debuted in 1997. He has worked for Toyama Wrestling, WCW, and he spent 21 years working for Dragon Gate and really building that promotion up to what it is today. He went on to then work for WVW, and after that, after Dragon Gate and WVW, he's moved on to China, and he and Dragon Fu became the lead trainers and some of the main people pushing OWE, some of the main people behind OWE. Christopher Daniels, again, still talking to Sema, says, hey, Sema, you're a leader of men. You've come to lead OWE against the best opposition in the world. If you're looking for opposition, I've got a proposition. Can you get two of your best men and stand across the ring from SCU at Double or Nothing? Boom. Second official match set for Double or Nothing. SCU versus Sema and two of OWE's best. I think that's incredibly exciting. SCU versus OWE. Perfect way to bring them in, start to integrate them into the AEW function, and we'll definitely see more of them. I mean, before the summer's end, I believe. So Conrad and Alex are on stage. They basically say there may be one more announcement. Like this was kind of lame. This was kind of lackluster as well. They come out and they're kind of like, it's almost like your parents are before you've checked under your pillow, but or before you've checked your stockings on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day and you're a kid, and they're like, oh, you might want to check your thing. There may be one more thing in there. And so they're basically, before they wrap things up, Conrad and Alex are like, oh, there may be one more announcement, and people start chanting for Kenny. We all know it's going to be Kenny at this point, and they're smiling, they're smirking, like they got smirks on their faces, and then they just saunter off stage. Really awkward. I thought it could have been a better way to lead into what was going to happen next, but what happens next is good enough that I didn't care that much. The Kenny chants start going. We cut to the timer on Kenny's phone, which we've seen on Being the Elite. It starts to count down from 10 seconds. And once it hits the 10-second mark, it hits like a Super Smash Bros. Type screen where it says new fighter or new opponent has entered the ring or entered the stage. They hit music and out walks. They say it as he's walking out. I think it's Conrad I think it's Alex who makes the call. He says, formerly the number one free agent in the world is here at AEW. Kenny Omega walks out at Las Vegas, Nevada. Very, very cool. And the wrestling world, I'm sure the wrestling world shook. I mean, if you could feel it, that was the shot heard around the world. More so than Jericho, Kenny Omega signing with somewhere other than New Japan is gonna really shake things up and really, really shake the wrestling landscape. At least I think. People lost their shit. He hits the stage. He basically says, first and foremost, I want to apologize to you guys for making you guys wait so long. I just put pen to paper this morning, but he's happy to announce I am now a full-time member of the AEW roster. Crowd goes crazy. I mean, we all expected it to come, but especially after the offers and the opportunities that Kenny Omega had at WWE or anywhere else, Kenny Omega could have gone anywhere. Um, for him to say those words, for it to finally hear it, it was awesome. Um, he goes on to say, in 2016, Nick, Matt, and I set out to change the wrestling world, and that journey is never ending. But that journey had to come to an end in Japan. But that journey had to come to an end in Japan. And often in interviews, I'm asked what change the world means. I never know how to put it into words. I felt it. I saw it all in. And I wondered why that couldn't happen all the time. He says, guys, now it can happen all the time. As we're rejoicing and as we're in the heights of our appreciating Kenny Omega being here, cue that Fozzy music, and we hear that ominous, those guitar riffs hit in Jericho's voice, singing softly, and out walks the pariah himself, Chris motherfucking Jericho. Y2J comes out to confront Kenny Omega. Alpha versus Omega facing off once again. We haven't seen this since Wrestle Kingdom a couple years ago, and man, was it a cool fucking sight. I mean, if a lot of the pictures that have come out since the party are of this, mainly of these two cats facing off. So you got on stage Alpha and Omega, Jericho and Kenny Omega facing off, talking that trash. You can't hear what they're saying. I thought it was really cool. And then out of nowhere, Chris Jericho smacks Kenny Omega in the face. And I was like, finally, somebody smacks somebody. That was what I was waiting for this time. The Young Bucks shit was cool. It felt a little too wrestly. I wanted just two cats to just like be ready to just smack the, just come to blows, like come to fisticuffs. I wanted haymakers to be thrown. And it was really cool. They started to come to blows, and like people had to pull them apart. Like Cody runs out, like SCU's running out. I thought it was really, really awesome. Kenny Omega got all red. Like, they definitely were going for it. Jericho was trying to get back to the stage, and Jericho got drugged backstage by fucking the behemoth of a man, Billy Gunn. If you want to see how big Billy Gunn is, look at Jericho being drugged off, and look how small he looks. It's like that picture that came out of Vin Diesel standing next to The Rock on that Fast and Furious movie. You're like, you think Chris Jericho's a big guy, and then you see him next to fucking Billy Gunn, and you're like, wow, he looks like his kid. Kenny Omega wraps the night up. He basically says, he gets to throw his catchphrase and, gives everybody, it's basically like a warm hug goodbye. It's like hey, everything's good. Kenny Omega's here now. And that was the end of that, man. I thought it went off without any big hiccups. I thought it was good. I thought the production value was awesome. I thought there were some good announcements. I liked a lot of the pickups. And obviously, Kenny Omega, there's going to be no news bigger than Kenny Omega in the next maybe 5 to 10 years in the wrestling world. Super, super well done. I thought it was a great rally. So second thing we had this week for the Being the Elite segment was the meat of it, the chunk of it. Being the Elite episode 138 came out this week. Alpha and Omega. We starts off with some Super Bowl footage. You think it's gonna be made just generic Super Bowl footage of the cats hanging out, and they cut into like a bit of parodying the fans who had to take off their shirts at WWE events. The hands basically come out and point at Nick Jackson. He's wearing his Young Bucks or his Jacksonville Jaguar shirt. And the hands come at him and they're like, "Hey, take that fucking shirt off. Take your fucking shirt off." They're basically parodying that. It was all right. It was a nice little bit. We get to see the Bucks get on the plane. Obviously going to the pop in at Come Hell or High Water, which we talked about last week. They show that little fake poster that somebody made for it. We then cut to Cody, Frankie, and Scorpio Sky hanging out, drinking wine, smoking some cigars. Frankie Kazarian's about to jump back into that Snickers story, which we've been waiting to hear for like a month and a half now. I think it's great that they're dragging it out, and we still haven't heard that fucking story. That's a pretty funny little bit. And Christopher Daniels comes in to tell him the food's ready, but he's wearing like a mouthpiece. Really, really cool. That bit's great too. That poor Christopher Daniels still hasn't got his tooth fixed yet. I'm loving that bit. I think they keep that bit going. They start to make fun of his mouthpiece every week. It's something. It's like either the bandana, they're calling him a cowboy, or like this one, the bit is they're calling him Shooter CD. They're like, "What are you, Shooter now? I'm gonna throw you in some little MMA shorts, fucking Shooter CD." We then get footage of Paige and Cody at Come Hell or High Water. We talked about that. Obviously, if you watched Come Hell or High Water last week, you obviously saw what happened there. If you didn't, you can still catch that on Fight TV. We then cut to another like interstitial of Joey Janela. Every week it's been like, what is Joey Janela gonna do now? This week it's farming. He's doing his farming, but this week he's blinded, obviously from lighting himself on fire all these weeks in a row. It's decent. I'm not really loving the Joey Janela bits. I've said that before, but I want to see Joey Janela back in action. I hope that knee's healing up. I'd like to see him more involved. We then move on. Cody and the Bucks. This is awesome little bit. There's a scene backstage where Cody and the Bucks are yelling at Joey Ryan. Joey Ryan's basically sitting in like a little chair being yelled at. And they're saying like, we can't keep bailing you out. Like, do you know how expensive this is getting every time you get beat up? Everybody's beating you up. Like, what the fuck? We can't keep running out. They're running the EVP bit, the 3 EVP bit about how they're all executive vice presidents. And Cody's yelling at him. He's like, I can't keep running out because I'm executive vice president and I'm busy. Okay. Like, I love that. I love that angle too. I think they keep that going as well. So Joey Ryan's getting yelled at, and they're like, he promises to do better. And as soon as they walk out of the room, they're like, this is it. We're done. We're not going to bail you out again. As soon as they walk out of the room, the camera guy, for being the elite, or like the hand from behind the camera, fucking beats up Joey Ryan. And they come back and they're like, come on, not the camera guy now. Really funny little bit. Obviously, it's a cool little way to put a end cap on the Bucks and Cody's little their indie tour that they've been doing recently. I don't think we'll be seeing much more of it as we get closer to May. But I thought it was a really, really cool way to get the word out there. We then cut to Nick's wife, Matt, and the SCU Cats all going to the Super Bowl. Obviously, I'm not. It's cool that they were there. The tickets were provided by. It's got to be nice working for somebody, an NFL owner, because tickets provided by Tony Khan himself. At the end of it, I guess the Rams lost. The LA team lost, and so they do like the SCU gets to do like the this is the worst Super Bowl I've ever been to bit, which is cool. We then cut to Hangman Page, who shows us the Double or Nothing seat map. This is probably my only really gripe with the episode. I felt like as we're now like 3 episodes into Road to Double or Nothing, the delineation of what's being the elite and what's Road to Double or Nothing is getting more clear. And this is the only bit that I felt really should have gone into the Road to Double or Nothing, is just Hangman showing the seat map, and it was the first introduction to the seat map. So that's the only gripe I had there. And it ends with Kenny Omega and Jericho facing off from that party and the holy shit chants. Cool little cliffhanger. Good episode. I'd like more Joey Janela in the future. But everything else I dug. I thought this was a pretty solid episode of Being the Elite. Also, we got a new episode. Episode 3 of Road to Double or Nothing. It dropped Tuesday, February 12th. We started off with some cool interviews, some quick snap interviews of people. We had some quick quotes from people. The Bucks were talking about how they're putting, quote, everything on the line. They put their whole careers on the line. We then went on to some behind the scenes footage of what was going on before the party. It was cool to see people in like a video village or people getting ready in the production area. You had some Brandy getting ready, Christopher Daniels, the head of talent relations, Christopher Daniels, head coach Billy Gunn back there, everybody, and producer Billy Gunn. It was really cool. It seemed like everybody actually was not that nervous. I mean, they could have, maybe they actually were, maybe they're sweating bullets secretly or underneath, but they seemed to have their composure, and they seemed pretty happy and excited for what was going on. Then we get Kenny Omega coming in. This is cool to see this before the event too. He kind of, he came in early, and this is the first time he's had the crossover. This is, shot chronologically before that party, so this would be officially the first, crossover of Kenny Omega as an All Elite full-time roster member. He comes in and he says, "You guys feel like my family. This can't fail," Really, really cool stuff to see Kenny Omega in there, finally throwing his heart in as well, just like everybody else. We get the footage of the Bucks and the Bros. We've talked about that multiple times. This is interesting too. This is where it starts to get a little foggy. Where I'm not sure about the tone as far as the series is like. It definitely feels very much a lot of times like a documentary series, like behind the scenes series, and then occasionally like. I know that maybe that's what they're going for, but I would like a little more separation in the tone between Being the Elite and the Road to Double or Nothing, because this part where Brandy and FaceTimes Britt Baker, it feels mockumentary-ish. It feels like it's a work, and this series a work or is this series not a work? I know that sounds too black and white. I may be sounding like a prick fan, like it can be one or the other, but there's like the behind the scenes series and Being the Elite. If not, then just throw it all in Being the Elite, or just do multiple Being the Elite. If it's just gonna be the same as Being the Elite, though not that I don't like it, but that's just my 2 cents on it. So Brandy and Britt have the FaceTime. Britt Baker basically says like, "Oh, I feel like I'm being left out. I saw what happened. I feel like I'm kind of being left out by the wayside and left out of the picture." Brandy's like, "Oh, I'll address it quickly." We then cut to Brandy and Cody talking, sitting in. Brandy's looking at the flyers. He's like, "Here," Cody's like, "Here, I got these flyers done. You got to approve them." Brandy shoots over the flyer for not our third confirmed match for Double or Nothing. Nyla Rose versus Kylie Ray versus Britt Baker in a triple threat match. The first female match announced for Double or Nothing. Cody says, basically goes like, "Oh, like, wow, you're off the card again." Brandy goes on to say, "Hey, I need to focus on these girls, and I can't do that if I'm wrestling them right now." And he says, "It's your call." So boom, there we go. Brandy left out. Brandy, as of right now, Brandy officially not wrestling at Double or Nothing. We got our third match and a confirmation of Brandy not being on the card at Double or Nothing. She moves into the next flyer, and it's a picture of Cody, and his opponent is blurred out. You can't see who his opponent is, and she says to him, "Is this real? Or like, is this serious? Are we gonna start making decisions without each other?" And like they play some music and it ends, and I was like, what a cliffhanger. Who the fuck is Cody gonna fight? We all still don't know. Who is Cody Rhodes gonna fight at Double or Nothing? It's too early to tell. I mean, it could be Flip Gordon, it could be Nick Aldis. We don't have enough hints yet for me to start to speculate. I think next week hopefully we'll get a couple more hints. But what a great cliffhanger. Great episode. I'd like I said, let's delineate a little more, but I loved it. I thought it was great. Guys, that was it. Those are all three things for Being the Elite segment. Boom, another chunk down. We're now moving on to AEW news for this past week. First off, on Monday, February 11th, at Chris Jericho Cruise on Twitter, that was the first place they announced it. Chris Jericho announced, they put out a video announcement for Chris Jericho's Rockin' Wrestlin' Rager Part 2. He says himself. I know that sounds a little douchey, but Part 2, announced for January 20th to 24th, 2020. The big news here being the wrestling portion will be covered by AEW. Really, really cool. So this is now becoming not only just a Chris Jericho cruise. This is gonna feel like, as soon as these tickets go on sale, I imagine this is gonna become a Double or a AEW cruise, particularly with the amount of people not getting into Double or Nothing. I know myself, like, if I have a job at this time, or as soon as we start to get closer to this, I'm going to be like, oh, well, maybe I could spend a couple hundred and, go on a wrestling cruise. So they announced AEW taking over for the Jericho Rockin' Wrestling Rager Part 2. Last year, it was, the original was handled by Ring of Honor, did the booking as far as the wrestling portion for the cruise. They didn't mention them at all this time. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else is involved. Last year, Impact wrestlers were also there, so we'll see if anybody else is gonna join at all. But if not, hey, there you go, Chris Jericho, boom, expanding that home base at AEW, and the AEW already there, confirming their second big event for the next 18 months. It's not 2019, it'll be 2020 proper. But there you go, another official AEW event coming up. You can start to look for your tickets for that. Monday, February 11th. Speaking of tickets, that same day, Double or Nothing pre-sale tickets, like we talked about, if you had put in that pre-sale code, if you watched or attended the rally, the party, you got the pre-sale code for the Double or Nothing tickets. Those pre-sale tickets went on sale on Monday and sold out in less than half an hour. All the pre-sale tickets gone. Anybody who was left by the wayside or who couldn't get in due to the infrastructure just like crashing because of the demand was then sitting on pins and needles for yesterday, February 13th, Wednesday. The general admission tickets went on sale, and those sold out in 4 minutes. So guys, as I sit here, February 14th, Double or Nothing, May 25th is officially sold out. And I guess you could say the allotted time for overall sales would be 34 minutes. General public sale, though, 4 minutes sellout. What a way to kick off Double or Nothing build up. I mean, Vegas is going to be crazy that weekend, Memorial Day weekend for Double or Nothing. That's already confirmed 12 to 14,000 people there for Double or Nothing. How cool. Congratulations on that sellout, man. Also this week, on the most recent edition of Talk is Jericho, Chris Jericho's podcast. He had none other than his new boss, AEW CEO Tony Khan. The episode's titled "The AEW Vision of Tony Khan." Tony Khan was his guest, and you can go check that out over on the Podcast One Network. You can catch it on everywhere else, but I just picked out some main key points as pertaining to AEW. It was a really, really cool conversation as far as delving into Tony Khan's his background as being a wrestling fan his whole life. They also got to talk, a little business, what he's doing as far as his, what he does for the Jaguars, what he does for the football club that they own. And this guy, you can just tell, this guy is so intelligent. This guy's beyond intelligent. But beyond that, he is just an encyclopedia of wrestling knowledge. I don't know if I've ever spoken to anybody. I don't know if I've heard anybody speak as knowledgeable as wrestling. He was just pulling names, dates, things like that out of the back of his brain when he was talking with Chris Jericho. But this is what he talked about in pertaining to AEW. They recorded this podcast in Vegas, either before or after, but it was in right around the time of that party. He says, Tony Khan, when he's asked about, when he thought about doing it, he said he had been looking at doing it for a very long time. He says, quote, the advertisers began seeing value in wrestling, in a wrestling audience. And at the same time, there was TV money out there. He said those words, there was TV money out there. I think that's very cool. Obviously, we're going to be getting a TV announcement sometime in the near future, probably around Double or Nothing time. When he's asked about, who made the calls, who called, if anybody called him to get the thing off the ground, he said, nobody called me. I made calls. So Tony Khan claiming, obviously the driving force, saying, claiming to be the hero. I'm the guy. Like, I'm the buck stops. Started with me. It's going to stop with me. I'm the guy who went out to talk to the Bucks, talk to Cody about forming All Elite Wrestling. And I thought that was pretty cool to hear it come straight from the boss's mouth. He goes on to tell a story about, being a young wrestling fan. He says he was at Y2J's last ECW match, his last two ECW matches. He said against one night Sabu, and then the night after Too Cold Scorpio. He says he was Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is his favorite wrestler, and he held up Chris Jericho sign when I'm assuming the last night. We'll definitely touch back upon that weekend a little later here in the podcast. But he says he was there. He's asked about when he's talking about on his father funding it. He says, quote, what we're about to do is going to be a huge success. That's why he wanted to be part of it. Like, I thought those were really big words. This guy is obviously really, really confident. He seems to, know a lot more than obviously we've been led on to knowing. I'm assuming, to me, it sounds like, TV deal in place, first show sold out, sold out. I think there's going to be some big AEW announcements coming soon here. When talking about TV and competing with WWE or anything like that, as far as like Nitro and Raw did back in the day, he says, I would not want to do that. I wouldn't want to put it on the same night as a wrestling show. I'd rather put more wrestling on different nights. I thought that was very cool, very interesting, particularly now that we all know that SmackDown going to Fox in the fall, the word is it's not no longer going to be falling on Tuesday night. SmackDown is going to be moving to Friday night, which would open up a free night, Tuesday night that people are used to watching wrestling. Tuesday night, they're already accustomed to watching SmackDown. Drop Tuesday Night Dynamite right in there for AEW. To me, that's what it sounds like. That's what I took from it, at least. On as far as competing and the marketplace and sharing the marketplace with Vince McMahon, with WWE, anybody like that, he said, or in Ring of Honor, he says more wrestling, it's going to be good for everyone. That's at least what he believes. On talking about the TV show or any type of impending TV show, he says to expect top production, taking fans and both fans and stars seriously, taking wins and losses seriously, because if not, what are we doing? I thought that was really cool to hear as far as the rumors that have been coming out as far as AEW operating on a wins and loss system, much more so than WWE or anything like that, or Ring of Honor, or even Ring of Honor does, taking that being a main factor into who gets into title contentions and things like that. He says it's not going to be like WCW as far as where the top guys only wrestle top guys, everyone's going to wrestle everyone. Chris Jericho goes on to cite how when he was in WCW, there was Hogan, there was Piper, but he's not going to wrestle Hogan. They're not going to be wrestling. He's not going to get a chance to wrestle Chris Jericho or get to wrestle them, as anybody on the undercard. But one of the big things that Tony Khan was excited about was somebody like a Joey Janela or an MJF or a Sonny Kiss getting an opportunity to get in the ring and be on the same scale as someone as legendary as Chris Jericho. And that'll definitely put some notches on their belt. When they're talking about the women's division, he says, what we're going to do as far as athleticism and pace will be above and beyond anything out there. Big words. I haven't seen much Britt Baker yet. And you've heard me here talk about my love for Penelope Ford and how big I think she's going to be and what a great addition I think she was to the roster. But those are some pretty big words. We'll have to see, particularly what Yuka Sakazuki, I think her name was. Yuka and Aja Kong will bring, but those are some big claims there. When he's asked about the goals for the company, he says for goal for this year is to put on multiple successful pay-per-views, starting obviously with Double or Nothing, and we'll talk about that a little later. The only bit that he elaborates as far as multiple pay-per-views this year, the only one that he elaborates on is the Summer Jacksonville show. I believe this is the first time he drops the name of it or the potential name for it being called Fight for the Fallen. We've heard about a big chunk of the profits from this going to victims of gun violence and charities of victims of gun violence. And so, boom, that right there. I believe that's our first official announcement for the Jacksonville show. There you go. AEW's second event this year to be called Fight for the Fallen in Jacksonville. Keep a lookout for that. We'll follow that as it develops. Wow, that sounded pretty douchey. Jericho's on as far as long-term goals. When Jericho asks him, he says, "In 5 years, I'd like to be growing, not alienating fans. I'd like to be able to say that I didn't lie. He didn't lie to talent or fans or anybody like that." He says he'd like to be able to make the wrestling business a better place and to look back at when AEW started as a pivotal moment, changing wrestling for the better. Some pretty big goals, some pretty lofty goals set up there by Tony Khan. I thought there's some big announcements in there, especially pertaining to the Jacksonville show. I know that's not official release or anything like that, but a couple cool little nuggets in there. Like I said, go check that out. This past week's edition of Talk is Jericho. Really cool episode. Good conversation with Tony Khan, and just really insightful as far as to who that guy is and what he wants to see as far as a brand new wrestling promotion, and just the passion that he brings to it. I think it's really, really cool to hear that, and you don't get to hear that a lot as far as that high up the ladder. Also this week there was a Queen of Wrestling interview. A couple weeks back I mentioned that she had an interview with SCU. This week she had an interview with Jungle Boy, one of the newest AEW signees. This one was from January 31st at Bar Wrestling. No big news pieces or no big tidbits in here, but just a nice little get to know you piece with Jungle Boy. If you're unfamiliar with who Jungle Boy is and his personality, go check that out. That's a nice little piece covering Jungle Boy and his start in the business, where he's worked and things like that. Also, this wasn't really like news, but ironically enough, it did pop up as a headline on comicbook.com when I was scrolling on comicbook.com. So I was like, fuck it, we'll throw it on there. This week, 1/3 of our EVP triumphant, Cody Rhodes, underwent knee surgery. If you recall, he tore his medial meniscus back in November. He went on to fight at Ring of Honor Final Battle, and I believe Wrestle Kingdom still after that. Before I think he put off the surgery till now. From all accounts on his social media pages, he's healing up. So from myself here at All Elite Weekly, and I imagine the rest of the Elite fans, wishing him a speedy recovery. Excited to see him in the ring at Double or Nothing. Lastly, this week there have been some rumors circulating. I usually don't like to run in rumors. I like to only run in confirmed pieces, but this is something that really piqued my interest. There was a report that surfaced from Wrestle Talk that claimed to have a source within AEW that had confirmed, or that was claiming that this was going to be a official AEW schedule for this year, 2019 event schedule, and they laid it out as thus: May, Double or Nothing in Vegas. June, a mystery show in Jacksonville. Mystery U.S. show in June. This one's claim. They're claiming an yet unnamed city here in the United States. July, Fight for the Fallen in Jacksonville, which I just mentioned here. So they're claiming that is set to take place in July. August, they are claiming that there is a Royal Albert Hall show being planned in August over there, which I would believe is as well. Tony Khan obviously has some roots there in the UK, especially with the football club. He's mentioned that, and so he's mentioned doing shows over there. That would definitely make sense as something they would pull off. So I would believe that one. September, an official, and then in September an official all-in sequel called All Out, or to be titled All Out. That one didn't have an official. That one didn't have a city name for it either, or a speculation for a city. But they did also claim that there would be a TV deal announced by then, and we would have a weekly AEW show on television by that September or October slot. I don't know exactly how much weight to put in this. Let me know what you think. Hit me up at All Elite Weekly on Instagram. Let me know how much water do you put into this. Some of this stuff I think this could be true. The hardest piece that I find a hard time believing is the show in June. That seems pretty quick to follow up Double or Nothing, but that's just me as well. So let me know what you think about this. Like I said, again, unconfirmed, but this one was juicy enough that I felt we had to address it, because this one could be this could be true. If that's the case, what a lofty 2019 this could be, but also how fucking exciting that there's this many opportunities to catch some AEW events out there. Very cool. Speaking of opportunities to catch AEW events, what a segue. We're rounding it out, guys. Last two segments. Here we go. This is your opportunity to catch AEW cats in action for the week of the week of February 14th through February 21st. First off, this Friday, February 15th in Woodside, New York. It's going to be ICW's Party and Bullshit, a Biggie tribute. No, it's not a Biggie tribute, but on this card we're going to be able to see matches from AEW signee Jungle Boy, who's taking on 17-year veteran Azriel, and also former teammates in Ruthless Ambition, Penelope Ford taking on her former teammate Maria Manic. You can catch this on Independent Wrestling TV, .tv. It's going to be streaming live if you're like myself. We're not going to be out there in the NY area. I believe Riley Madison is making her ICW debut on this as well. Keep an eye out for her. She will not be hard to find because she's fine. Also, that same night, February 15th, London, UK, at York Hall, Revolution Pro Wrestling, High Stakes. It's sold out. This sumbitch is sold out, son. You're fucking late if you're trying to get into that. On this card, MJF is going to be taking on the current ECCW champ, El Phantasmo. And in the main event, Hangman Page's new foil, Pac, is taking on Will Ospreay. Wow. That's going to be a hell of a fucking match. If you're out in the UK, you make it to this. Oi, send me a pic. Let me know. Send me some clips of this, because I want to see what the vibe was like in that. I imagine it's going to be going crazy for that Ospreay match. I can imagine the anticipation for that. Last but not least, next week, February 20th and 21st in Los Angeles, Bar Wrestling 30 and 31. It's going to be Three's Company, a 2-night trios tournament, including Team Land of the Lost, which is Luchasaurus, Solo Darling, and Jungle Boy, and SCU. Night 1 is going to be taking place Thursday, February 20th at the Bootleg Theater in LA, and night 2, the conclusion of the tournament, is Friday, February 21st at American Legion in Baldwin Park. This is going to be a hell of a tournament. I hope SCU pulls it out, but there's going to be some great matches on there. I believe Brian Cage is on one of them. Alley Cat's on one of them. Keep your eye out for some prizes too, because this is a pretty big 2-night event here for Bar Wrestling. It's going to be a nice way to cap off the month. bringing it home, rounding it out, looking for clearing. About to taxi in. This is your last segment, guys. This is all elite, way back. I got a good one here for you. I had to delve into the fucking crates for this one. This is in the nooks and crannies of the web. My match for you tonight is ECW. It's from August 1996. It is at Lulu Shriner's Temple in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania. Chris Jericho versus Sabu. This is Chris Jericho's penultimate ECW match. Not only is this a kick-ass match, you can find it on YouTube. It's in 3 parts. There's some hardcore stuff in there. There's some aerial stuff. There's some good groundwork. I mean, Chris Jericho is firing all cylinders. He's hungry. This is right before he goes off to WCW. And one of the main reasons as well that I put this match in here is because I believe Tony Khan, our now AEW president or CEO president Tony Khan, is in attendance at this match. I believe this is what he speaks of, one of the matches he talks about in that Jericho interview, as far as seeing his last 2 ECW matches. The night after, he would go on to fight Too Cold Scorpio at the ECW arena. But these were back-to-back. These are the last 2 matches in ECW. Some pretty cool kick-ass stuff. And his a good almost goodbye. It's a good third base rounding for Chris Jericho there in ECW. Again, you can find that one on YouTube. Guys, that's it. We've done it. We've talked about the matches from this past week. We've gone over, not over just being the elite. We had a rally. We had an episode of Road to Double or Nothing. We've gone over the news for this week. I have given you your opportunities to see AEW cats in action, and I left you with Chris Jericho 96 versus Sabu, all elite way back. I have just about expired my supply of oxygen here in my refugee quarters in Moreno Valley. We're signing off. That's going to do it for me here. I'm Matt Cruz. Oh, shit. Make sure you, if you're wherever this is at, this is probably only on YouTube currently. We're going to get that fixed here in the near future. The funds are not slushing, but I had a pretty promising interview today, so we'll hope for that in the next coming weeks. But make sure you hit subscribe, por favor, like on this. This is on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, listen to this. Run over Instagram. I'm All Elite Weekly. I'll be back next week.